Hey, welcome back. Um, Let me do the hammer. I have a couple tiny little anachronism notes that I think I forgot about from yesterday. I was also thinking, I was just playing for like 20 minutes to try to find that last key. I finally found it. But in that time, I was thinking about the girlfriend thing again. 2 days ago, I talked about it. It's nice to me that I have what? I mean, you do the math. I've been doing about averaging like 15 minutes per episode for the past 2.5 years. And how many times have I talked about like, oh, I don't have a girlfriend and it really bothers me? I've never said that. Like, if it really did bother me, I would have mentioned it by now. I guess maybe the reason I'm mentioning that is because maybe part of me thinks like, oh, I might be lying, like maybe I do really care about it, but like, oh, I just don't talk about it or whatever. But whenever I bring up the topic, I don't know, I feel like I'm always just like, oh, I don't care, whatever. So like, you can't lie for that long, right? Well, I guess that's not true, but I don't know. I just was thinking about like, how many hours have I had this, and I've never, if it was really something that bothered me, oh, why wouldn't I talk about it? Oh, I have a thing. I have a fairy. So I don't know why I felt like the need to mention that, but it's true. I really don't care. Oop. What's that? Oh. I feel like you're supposed to do this, right? I was gonna talk about Levin again. Oh, whoa. I'm doing good. Oh, you missed me. Yeah, okay, you didn't miss me, but I did it. Okay, another couple cool little notes. When Levin's brother is dying. So this is another thing I related to Levin about, which I was mentioning yesterday. I really liked this description that Tolstoy had of Levin interacting with his brother when he was dying. And he was overthinking everything. He's like, okay, my brother's about to die. So he's putting all this weight on their interactions. Because obviously, like, it could be the last time. So he's thinking, and his brother kind of isn't himself. He's like sick, and sometimes he's very agitated. Because he's very uncomfortable, because he has tuberculosis and he's like coughing and stuff. So he's overthinking every little thing. He's like, okay, if I go in there and I don't say anything, that's gonna be weird. But like, if I talk too much, then that's gonna be weird. But like, if I talk about death, that's gonna be like, if I talk about my job, that's gonna be weird. Because I'm like, well, why am I talking about my job? My brother's dying. But then if you talk about like death, like, it's too heavy. You know, he's about to die. We really have to talk about death. And then he's like, well, if we be silent, then like everything's gonna feel weird. Like, oh, it's quiet. We should be talking because this is like your last time. So he's like overthinking every little thing he could do. That's anxiety. That's straight up anxiety that Levin has. I mean, that's a very anxious situation to be in. Obviously, your brother's dying. But I really like the way Levin processes this, because his wife Kitty comes in. And she's just kind of carefree, and she's just talking about the weather or whatever with Nikolai, his brother who's dying. And what Levin said about this was really interesting. He's like, I don't know, I liked the way he said it. He says, it's really hard for me because I'm just thinking about myself and what I should say. But Kitty, my wife, she's not thinking about herself at all. She's just thinking like, oh, I should talk to this person and be nice or be myself or whatever. I don't know. If you phrase that in a way like, it could kind of make me hate it. Because basically what that is just like, oh, stop overthinking everything and just be yourself. That's the advice the therapist gives, which sometimes I kind of hate that advice, because I'm like, well, you don't want me to think? What do you want me to do? You just want me to be like a dog or something, and like an animal, and just react to stuff? You don't want me to think about anything? But what Kitty's doing is right. She's being nice, and she's making Nikolai feel better because she's not thinking about herself. That's the thing. But it's like, how are you supposed to not think about yourself? I don't know. I just liked that. Okay, number two. Yeah, I just liked that. The whole scene with the brother dying is really interesting and cool. I liked it. And there's one other. Ooh, I died. Very real description of death. Another thing I liked about the death scene was he just does a good job of making it feel real, because Levin and his brother have this really touching moment where they're together, and like they're really nice, and it's kind of sappy, and like Nikolai's like, oh, I love you, and you're my brother, or whatever, I forget. And if this was like a movie or a TV show, then like right after Levin and his brother have this sappy moment, Nikolai would die. But that doesn't happen. Nikolai is alive for 3 more days, and he's in agony still. So it's like, it's like, no, he's supposed to be dying and it's supposed to be happy. But no, he's in pain, and he's like yelling at his brother, like, because he's really uncomfortable. And he's really agitated at everybody, and everybody's just kind of waiting for him to die because they don't know what else to do. And Nikolai kind of understands that, but part of him is like, one day he takes this medicine and it makes him feel better, and everybody's like, oh, maybe he might be better now. And then the next day they're like, no, he's still gonna die. It feels very real, even though I've never really experienced death like that. It just feels more real than like a TV show where the main character comes to see their brother dying, and then they're like, oh, I loved you my whole life, and you're the best brother. And then right after he says that, he's like, and he dies. But that doesn't happen in Anna Karenina. He suffers for 3 more days. And it's terrible, and it ends, and once it ends, everybody's just kind of relieved. Like, oh, thank God he's finally... Suffering's over. It is amazing that that's how death works. Hopefully now it doesn't really happen like that too much. Because it's just like, if they're gonna die, then just like do the assisted suicide thing, right? Just like give them an overdose, or I don't know how they do it, but why do they have to suffer for like another week or another month? What's the point of that? Just because you don't want to technically pull the trigger on them. If they're saying, this is agony for me, and you know I'm going to be dead anyway, then just let me die, and I don't want to be in suffering anymore. Yeah. Really? 3? Oh, I guess I fought that boss today. Only 3 more minutes, it says. Oh, I could talk about this. Tiny note. I've talked about my posture. So this is something that obviously bothers me, right? Because I talk about this a lot. So you can tell that like the girlfriend thing doesn't bother me because I never talk about it. But my posture. I've learned recently, I don't know if this is 100% right, but my biggest problem, I always thought that it was just my shoulders were hunched over, but I don't think that that's that bad. I think I have a pelvic tilt, where your back is supposed to be perfectly straight when you stand up. But for me, so it's supposed to be like this, but for me it's like it's like this with my pelvis tilted. It's tilted up. So when it's like this, your gut kind of sticks out and your butt sticks out instead of just being kind of in a straight line. Your gut's like. So that's why I've been trying to do these stupid glute exercises. I don't know if they're working, but apparently if your glutes and your abs are underworked, then that's how you get the pelvic tilt. Should I do the magic mirror thing? Oh no, I have to come here in the dark world. How do I get to the dark world? The magic mirror takes you... Huh? Ooh. Okay. Oh, I was in the dark world. Huh. I can't tell because I don't have the song playing. So yeah. But I was thinking about Trump because he has the same posture that I have. I remember looking online and people kind of making fun of his posture, but he has the pelvic tilt. But what he does is, so it's like this. It's like the confident but unathletic person. I don't know if there's like a name for that, but what he does is he's trying to puff out his chest to be like confident and be like, oh, look at me, but he has such terrible, he's very unathletic, so his glutes and his abs are underworked. So he stands, if you ever look at him standing, his torso will be kind of straight because he's standing up straight, but then his legs will be back here, and you're like, how is that even happening? That's because he's got pelvic tilt. He's got it worse than me, I think. Just because, probably because he's a little bit overweight. This is a good picture. This one. It's like the penguin or something, where it's, I don't know, like it looks really unbalanced. Can you see this picture? After this will end. Yeah. Look at his legs are all the way back and his torso's all the way forward. Can you see it? So that's kind of what I have, except I don't do the confident thing where like I stand up straight. I kind of am still hunched over. But if I was standing up straight and I was hunched over, it wouldn't really be that noticeable. I always thought my posture was bad just because of the hunch, but it's like I'm basically Trump but without the overconfidence. It's such a weird posture. It's crazy. This is a picture showing his center of gravity. I don't know if there's any other picture like this. Yeah, he's kind of standing stands like a centaur. Yeah, it's such a weird thing. But it's because his abs are really weak and his glutes are really weak. So it's like contracting instead of standing up straight. And that's what I have, and I have to work on that. But it's kind of a nice thing, like a little jab at Trump. Like, oh man, he thinks he's so confident, but he's actually really out of shape. And he's just kind of pretending by puffing up his chest, like, ooh, look at me. But if he was really a strong person, I guess, he would be standing up straight. I mean, I don't care about that stuff, but still, it's just so easy to not like Trump and his personality that, like, when you see things like that, you're like, ew, he's a bad person because he's unathletic or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Bye.